Hey everyone, welcome back to Keeping Me Up. Hope everyone is well. I'm Shane. You already know that if you watched before. If you haven't watched before, thank you for joining. Hope everyone is doing well. How's everyone's sleep? My sleep has gotten a little bit better thanks to these magical melatonin pills. Thank you to everyone who recommended them for me. At first, it didn't really work, but I've kind of worked out the dosage and the time and how to go about letting them take the maximum effect. So it's been pretty good. So I've been kind of MIA from doing live streams lately late at night. This is actually pre-recorded, so my good friend who's out there who likes to heckle me and be like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. I'm not responding to you. It's not going to be a live feed, so go away. But don't go away. Keep watching, please. Yeah, I've been kind of MIA. It's been, aside from the Bill and Ted Face the Music review of my best friend Balls that we did, which was awesome and fun. Haven't really done a live stream, been about a month, or any real video. Not for lack of wanting to. It's been, had a few friends and family who were supposed to join me and canceled at the last minute. And so that kind of put a cramp on what we're going to discuss. And I didn't really want to tackle certain subjects by myself. There are some subjects today I did not. Well, actually, I'd say all the topics today I didn't want to tackle by myself. But that's what it is. Things don't always work out as you plan. And plus, it's also been, let's not pretend like it isn't. A lot of it has to do with depression. We've gotten into depression before with Jessica and with Nicole and with other folks. And, I can't. I put on and with myself with the last live stream. I try to put on as brave a face as possible, and I try to be as clownish and fun and smiley as possible. I really do have this firm, deeply rooted thing that no matter how many people say they care and do care, I just think that inherently, I just think that people only care to a certain extent. No one really wants to hear all your bullshit, and so I kind of keep it all bottled up. And sometimes that's true. I have people who I've reached out to who don't reach back, and then there are people who I'm sure have reached out to me and I didn't reach back. You can't always be everything for everyone, but you have to be everything for yourself. And I'm not everything for myself, and so depression has really taken hold, and that's also been a huge factor as to why I haven't been keeping up with the podcast the way I should. And that needs to change because I do love doing this show. And I hope to build a community that loves watching it and interacting. I'd love anyone who wants to anyone who's out there who wants to be on this, who wants to join me or introduce a topic or both, please put it in the comments section, reach out to me, email me. If you know my number, text me, email me at keepmeuppodcast@gmail.com. Please, I would love to have anyone and everything on the show. That's not true. There are certain types of people I would not have on the show. But for the most part, I'm willing to have just about anyone up here and on here. So anyway, digress. So what I'm going to try to do, in addition to making certain changes to the set and whatnot, I really making a conscious effort to really keep up with this because I always feel better after I've done it. Isn't that weird with depression? It's like you just end up in this place where you just want to shut yourself off to the world, and you don't want to do anything. And then when you do it. You see a friend, you go out, you take that walk, you do that project. And this isn't the only project I'm working on. I'm working on right now a play with, I don't know why it's on, a play with a really close friend and some new friends and some acquaintances that I'm struggling with writing. And I'm glad when I did it. But everything is just kind of stalled because of the depression recently has really taken hold over me. But then when I do it, I feel better. So it's, I'm making a conscious effort to keep up with not only this, but all creative endeavors. And one of those creative endeavors for this show will be the first of many concentrated vlog type vignettes. A series about depression, talking to Nicole, who was on the show with the Let's Talk About Real Sex episode. We just randomly got on the subject of depression and seeing psychiatrists and antidepressants and things like that, and people she knows who that's worked for, and so So I recommend maybe that's something I might want to look into. So what I've started shooting this week, and there's going to be several installments. It's going to take a couple days to have the first one ready, maybe a couple weeks, because we all know, well, anyone who's ever tried trying to find someone to talk to, a professional, is like dating. It's, you got to find the right person. It's got to be the right fit, or else you run the risk of doing more damage than more harm than good. So that'll come out in different parts, and then just present that to you, and maybe it can help someone, or it, who knows. So I'm gonna be doing more things like that, and hopefully some more fun things. Go out there. I need to get out there and just spend so much time cooped up in this apartment that I need to kind of just, I don't know, do more, and maybe show the audience who is in New York more of New York. And maybe I can help build an audience that way. So that's going to be coming in the near future. And so today, let's just talk about some things that have been happening in the news. And unfortunately, there's 2 of the 3 very sad topics. As we all know, the now late and great Chadwick Boseman passed away a week ago. And I'm not going to sit here. I wish that I had other folks on here that could talk to greater emotionality to Chadwick's death. It did make me cry because of just the suddenness and the tragic nature of losing someone so young, who you don't always realize how much they've given the world and you personally until they're gone. There are actors out there who I feel like I have this personal relationship with. I don't. They're from afar. But because they've been in things that have touched me, say, Avery Brooks, Captain Benjamin, who played the Captain Benjamin Lafayette Sisko in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. When he, hopefully many years and decades from now, passes, that's gonna be one where I'm weeping through the entire podcast talking about it. Folks like that, obviously a Star Trek nerd, obviously they will hit home. But then there are ones that you don't realize, there are actors who you don't realize have touched you. And Chadwick Boseman is one of those individuals. I first saw him obviously in 42, and I remember actually fast forwarding from that when they announced that he was going to play Black Panther. I was like, good for him. He's earned his own franchise. Like, that's good for him. But the first time I saw him, like many of us, was 42, being a big baseball fan. And 42 itself, I think, is a lackluster, half-assed film. It feels very movie of the week. It doesn't feel genuine. I think casting Alan Tudyk in that despicable piece of shit's role was a disservice, because any voice, any face Alan Tudyk makes, you just want to laugh. And it's not that he was bad. It was just like, it's Alan Tudyk. Ooh, and you don't want to laugh at it. It was a mismatch. I feel it was a miscasted role and a miscast role. And I just feel like it was Harrison Ford's possibly worst work. It didn't work for me. However, Chadwick Boseman, as a lead should, takes the film and carries it on their back. Now, I mean, a great lead can carry a film and elevate it. Hi, baby girl. Yeah. You disagree? I know. But a film on the whole should be a film on the whole. Whatever. It should be, for someone as important and vital to this world as Jackie Robinson, and what Branch Rickey did to bring him on to the major leagues, the segregated, racist, disgusting major leagues at the time. Oh, hello, baby girl. Please don't hit anything. Yeah, I love you. Was makes me lose my train of thought. It's a turning point in our society, not just in America but in the world, that truly deserved to have, I think, a film worthy of a Best Picture nomination. And while I think that Chadwick was criminally passed over for all awards that year, the film itself was lackluster. He was amazing, though. He embodied Oh my God, baby girl, I love you, but we can't. Stop. Oh, baby girl. He embodied Jackie. And just as he went on to embody James Brown. Another film that was okay, but he was incredible. I haven't seen the film in which he played Thurgood Marshall yet. And I haven't seen 21 Bridges. I believe that's the name of it. But of course, we've all seen his work with Marvel as King T'Challa, as the Black Panther. And, you know, I look, let's not all pretend that many nerds haven't had that conversation and that debate, just like the one I had on this show with my friend Gina, as to who would have made the better T'Challa. Let's not pretend like there isn't and wasn't a huge faction of people that didn't want Michael B. Jordan as T'Challa and not Chadwick Boseman. Let's just be real. I don't live in that camp. I was very much firmly in the Chadwick Boseman makes the best T'Challa camp. And that Michael B. Jordan, that I am coming off being someone who was raised on Empire Strikes Back and The Wrath of Khan. And then later in life, you see Thanos and you see Wilson Fisk in the Netflix Daredevil and Gul Dukat and Heath Ledger's Joker. I know that the very best genre films, and really films like No Country for Old Men, all the best films that have a clear heavy, the best ones have a villain who is equal but the polar opposite, the antagonist of the protagonist, of the good guy. And I do feel that T'Challa is this quiet but forceful presence, whereas Killmonger had to be louder, more in your face, the sexier one. You know, obviously, the second he took off his shirt, you heard in the theater, every woman and any man and anyone fluid who anyone who finds any man tried to just hear, And, you know, so I mean, obviously, and you didn't necessarily get with Chadwick, but you know, digressing, I feel like Chadwick was the perfect T'Challa. I always did feel that way, and I think now, in the same way that people saw his video and photos of the last year, and it was like, it said some very derogatory things, and some of them were jokes, and some of them were not. I think I was like, oh God, is he one of them vegans that lost all that weight and now his skin's hanging off his bones? Or is he losing it for a role? You know, we've all seen actors, you know, transform themselves, and Chadwick transformed himself. For Jackie, for especially James Brown, transforms himself. Maybe not physically, but the mannerisms. He was an actor. He was a thespian. So it was not beyond the realm of belief that he lost all this weight because he was doing it for a role. And of course, now you find out, the world finds out that he had stage 4 cancer. And obviously, it's a wake-up call to men, myself included, to check it out. Will many of us heed that warning? Probably not. Let's be real. But hopefully his life is not in vain in that way. But his life is definitely not in vain because he was more than an actor. And this is where I really wish I had someone from the African American community and the black community of the world on here to discuss this with, because Black Panther was a very good film with an excellent baddie, with an excellent ensemble cast, and an excellent director, with terrible special effects. They were rushed. I mean, those rhinos, or whatever they were, I mean, they were laughable. The final Elastic Man battle in the train car thing, it was just like, it's bad. But that has nothing to do with Chadwick Boseman. That has to do with just a rush production. But the story is one that a lot of people cannot understand. I think now more than ever, and granted, it's only 2.5 years later, they kind of get it now with Black Lives Matter and the fight. People who are waking up to it, people who are empathizing in a way that they never have before, who can't sympathize but who can empathize. get how real the topics of that film are and how revolutionary that film is to an entire community. I mean, definitely millions of individuals in this country and very likely billions across the world. Because I believe, and I've seen from conversations, it's not just African Americans and black people across the world who saw this film and felt like for the first time ever it was a superhero that spoke to them in a way that white superheroes haven't. It's people of all marginalized individuals of color who can see that and see it as a beacon. And I know I'm never going to be as eloquent and as powerful in my discussion and my talking to the camera about it as I am right now as someone else could be. But I know, those who don't know me and those who haven't seen other podcasts where we're talking about it, I have white skin, but I am 75% Cherokee, Native American, and 25% Italian. I am proud of both sides. And I was always been too white for the red and too red for the white. I have a foot in two worlds. I was raised with Native American traditions and beliefs. I have my own system now of belief because I've tried to look into other things. But saying this now to say that if they actually did a Native American superhero correctly, it would mean the world in a way that I can't even fully express. And so knowing what that would mean to me, I can, to a certain extent, better understand what it is Black Panther, which was more than a film and became a revolution and a movement and a moment and a milestone in time to countless individuals across the world. It's something that Marvel tried to replicate and told you was important with Captain Marvel. That didn't work. It was something that Wonder Woman kind of did, but never to that extent. We had seen, the prime examples of Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor. We had never seen, except for a small snippet, of course, and not just small, but seeing him in Civil War, but having it be that ensemble. It will always be the first. And it means so much. And so at the head of that is Chadwick Boseman. Obviously, the director, Ryan Coogler, is the head of the film, obviously. But on screen, it's Chadwick Boseman. And so he crosses from, by all accounts, this amazing human individual and this excellent actor and this man who has embodied legends, 3 factual and 1 fictional. And it elevates him to legend status. And the legend passes on, because MLB's was delayed this year, on Jackie Robinson Day. Usually Jackie Robinson Day is in April. It was celebrated the day that Chadwick passed away, and on the day that Jack Kirby passed away, his birthday. Jack Kirby's birthday, who created Black Panther. It's what tends to happen with the passing of legends is where there's just so many coincidences to their passing. And then you truly do realize how impactful that individual was to your life and to the world. And of course, the strength with which he conducted himself. And I'm not saying anything that anyone hasn't said it over and over again for the past week, but sorry about that. To be able to live with I believe he was diagnosed with stage 3. I apologize for not knowing exactly which stages he was at what point, but no one really knew except his close loved ones. And to carry on. I think he had already shot Civil War by the time he was diagnosed, but obviously he had it if it was that advanced. And then he did how many more films, including 21 Bridges, which he was very much behind the scenes on, to do these roles to bulk up. I made the too soon joke, and it's still too soon. I'm going to say it. I playfully teasing with friends and getting on Robert Pattinson for crying that he didn't want to go to the gym because James Dean didn't have to go to the gym, so he shouldn't have to bulk up for Bruce Wayne. And many of us being pissed because that's the character. Batman has the bulk up. He has to stand side by side with Superman. He does the work in the gym, and this crybaby actor is like bitching about it. And what's the difference between an actor who embodies a character and lives and breathes it, and someone who just Chadwick Boseman is dying, and he's at the gym bulking up, and he's not complaining. Oh, and in The Five Bloods, I still have to see that. He's in the jungle in humidity, I can't imagine. What an inspiration. And he's not the only individual who has fought it through impossible odds and continued their work, but and physical work and much less glamorous work, not by any means, but he is one now who is on our minds, who is known to all of us. And it takes one hero to touch us all and realize how many heroes there are, and realize that you never really know. And again, I'm not the first to say this, but you never really know what someone's going through. I'm very guilty of judging people. Hell, I just judge Robert Pattinson. What the fuck do I know? I don't. It's a loss to the community of the world, whatever race you are. And I tip my hat to Chadwick Boseman, and nothing but the utmost respect for his legacy and himself as a man, and his family and his loved ones. And of course, now the talk is, immediately it started, what do you do with the franchise? I have a different approach. Some are like, recast, more like, give it to Shuri. Some are like, oh, now Michael B. Jordan can be resurrected, he can be Black Panther. I think, one, it's too soon. The pain has not subsided. I think Kevin Feige should say to Ryan Coogler, you decide. And that Ryan Coogler should listen to the community. The African American and Black community across the world. Because could it be a thing where maybe not this first film, but eventually, because eventually everything gets rebooted, but eventually it's almost like the Black Panther itself is a mantle to he or she that is worthy. A more culturally significant and important James Bond type of thing, where it's passed down to the next actor, the next thespian. But that's not for me to decide. It's just throwing that out there. And so maybe that's something to consider. I do think it should be where it's passed on to Shuri, like it is in the comic books. I think the Black community should be the one who, in time, and granted, with big budgets and money and blah, 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 it's got to be a quick in time. It should be one that Ryan Coogler listens to and he makes a decision. And I hope that's the way they go. I truly do. That decision is one that will really take the majority of the community's thoughts on it, and Ryan gets the final say. So we shall see, but it is a loss to the world. It truly is. And may we all be as strong and as brave and do something even close to as relevant as he did for billions of people on this planet. Moving on to another legend, so sad, who passed away. Tom Seaver. I'm a huge Mets fan, and yes, I have my Mets podcast, but there's just a lot of conflicting schedules right now, so we haven't really gotten a chance to put on a show. I have Tom's bobblehead right up here. The bobble's kind of broken. He passed away at the age of 75. He is beloved by Met fans and respected by the baseball community. I put in my status on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram that I have no emotional connection to Tom Seaver. I was too young to see him play, so he's always just been this legend to me, this Met legend. And he put the team on the map, and I respect him for what he did on the field. And I put that he's beloved by Met fans, and I forget exactly how I worded it, but he also was thoroughly respected. He was beloved by half the town, New York City, and so good that he was thoroughly respected by the other half, meaning Yankee fans. A team with which he got his 300th win against as a White Sox because the Mets screwed him over. I have no real connection to him, and I wish I had an older Met fan on here to talk about what he meant to the organization. But you have here, I put up, obviously, him in his heyday pitching at Shea with the dirt in his right knee, and then, of course, one of the last pitches he took. What makes this so tragic and so sad is that Chadwick Boseman, lost his battle with cancer, a disease that affects countless billions. And Tom Seaver had dementia. And I believe I'm using the term right, comorbidity with COVID. Something that while people seem to think that it's gone and people seem to think that it's a hoax and blah, 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 and it's not really that serious, and all of a sudden there's a lot less deaths than they said for political reasons, to try to downplay it is real. And it's impacted millions, and dementia has impacted probably billions. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying disease. And Tom looks pretty good in this shot that his daughter released the other day. Smiling. And it could be completely taken out of context. We don't know what the situation was when she took it, but at least we vision what end-stage dementia, and I don't know if it was end-stage because obviously COVID was a contributing factor to his passing. The image in many of our heads for dementia is one that is not as pretty as this picture of Tom is. And so many individuals suffer from it, and it's hard for everyone involved, for the family, for the friends, and for the individual going through it. And so that I think makes, obviously 75 is still young, but obviously it's not 43 young like Chadwick Boseman. So you have Tom Seaver, who elevated a ball club and was an athlete. Chadwick Boseman, who is an actor, but whose work brought the stories of these black legends to life, and whose most famous role gave empowerment to a community and representation to a community in a genre that hadn't had it to that level ever before. So obviously contributions to a ball club. We say we bleed orange and blue as Met fans, but we don't. We are still human. We still belong to larger communities ethnically than we do to a ball club. So I'm not trying to compare the two, but I know one following the other might seem as if I did. I'm not. I was just in chronological order of who passed away and who, and that's it. But Tom Seaver, both men succumb to illnesses that are affecting Sounds like a plane is landing outside. 2 men succumb to illnesses that affect countless individuals. Cancer with Chadwick, dementia, and COVID with Tom Seaver. And to their families and to the individuals and to all their fans and people who thoroughly loved and respected them throughout the world, my heart is with you. And so we have 2 men who I didn't have an overabundance of emotional connection with from afar, but who I respect. And in hindsight, I see how, much like with when Kobe died earlier this year, I learn about posthumously, and I reflect upon, and I think, damn, they touched the lives of many people. And isn't that the purpose of life, maybe, to positively impact others? And that's something that Tom Seaver and Chadwick Boseman did on different scales, in different communities. But love is love, right? I think so. So my hat off to both of those individuals. Now we come to, let me bring this up. John Boyega. Finn. FN1287. Yeah, I think that's it. From Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Last Shithole, and Star Wars The Rise of Palpatine. He did an interview with GQ, which, if you have not read it, it is amazing. I love John Boyega. I love him. Look, I'm not going to get into this whole interview. Obviously, I'm going to stick to the nerd part of it where he's discussing Star Wars. I respect him beyond words. When that video of him up there speaking at protest, a Black Lives Matter protest, one of many speakers who if you hear it and you don't get chills to the bone, and it doesn't make you, if you don't understand the movement or necessarily agree with it, it doesn't make you think, I need to take a second look at this, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about yourself. As someone who protested, who marched both in New York and DC, as someone who tries to be the best ally he can, I just love when celebrities were staying really fucking quiet. Leaders in the community like Oprah were staying really fucking quiet. Here's this man who is coming off a failed trilogy, who doesn't have the firmest career there is, who spoke up and spoke truth and spoke it and knew that, and he said, this could mean he never works again. He spoke truth and he could not stay silent. I respect that beyond words. And now he goes into GQ and he talks about how full of shit the sequel trilogy was. You know, the right here you'll see on screen, I'm the only cast member whose experience with Star Wars was based on their race. And ain't that the truth? And I'm just going to go through some of the quotes because you can go and read it and make a decision and make a conclusion as to how you feel about it yourself. So I'll go through a few quotes here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I strongly urge you all, just Google John Boyega, and this is going to be the first thing that comes up, to read this article and form your own opinion. And please tell me what your thoughts are. I think, you know, he had said that after the sequel trilogy was done, he was going to express his true thoughts on his experience with it as a whole. And this is something I already had conversations with individuals about, was how they marketed, and I was very excited for this. I was so excited when, and I remember commenting on one of my friends' pages when there was discussion about how there was some backlash about casting a woman in the lead with Daisy Ridley and casting John Boyega as the second lead. People were upset for numerous reasons. And I was just like, fuck them. Fuck them for being upset, because what's going to be great is that you have what's going to inevitably be, and at the time it was, or one of them. I thought it was going to be the biggest film of all time at the time. I don't think it was, but you're going to have, I said, the biggest film of all time with a woman lead, a black man the second lead, and a Latin man the third lead, with Oscar Isaacs. Fuck what they all have to say. Fuck the haters. What it could have meant was just by presenting two individuals of ethnicity, of non-white ethnicity, and one woman, you could have had a trilogy where you just wrote good characters, and they weren't wasted, and it didn't become a mockery of themselves. And unfortunately, really all three became a mockery of themselves, but it's not as much Daisy Ridley as you did John Boyega, especially, and Oscar Isaac. It became, a dual. Adam Driver, who was brilliant, and this is nothing against him or Daisy Ridley, but it became a trilogy that was two leads and then two supporting people, whereas we went into it thinking, like the original trilogy had the trifecta of, Luke, Han, and Leia. We thought, okay, Rey, Finn, and Poe. Didn't turn out that way. But what they did was Disney capitalized on the fact that they had this, and they virtue signaled. And that's what pissed a lot of people off. And that's what now pisses me off, is that, like I say, what I say to Disney is, do not market a black character as important and then push them aside. Because what he goes into in this article is how they basically made Finn a joke. Any plan they had where you had the most interesting character in The Force Awakens, new character in The Force Awakens, a stormtrooper who turned good, who defected, who wielded a lightsaber, who by the last one they hinted and never wrapped up that he was probably Force sensitive, and he could have been a Jedi as well. They just pushed him aside for stupid ass comic relief and didn't know what to do with Rose Tico, who, nothing against the actress, was a horrible character. Horrible, pointless, stupid character who went on in Space Vegas about how they need to rescue the alpacas, but then left the slave kids behind. Priorities, not Kelly Marie Tran's fault, not John Boyega's fault. Rian Johnson, who's one of those individuals who's a self-proclaimed SJW, but then ends up defeating their own cause by elevating the white characters and doing stereotypical things with the ethnic characters, a minority, those who are ethnic minorities. I'm just rambling here, but who end up perpetuating the stereotype they claim to be fighting against. And whatever was set up by J.J. Abrams in the first film, it was destroyed in the second film. You guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver. When it came to me, you knew fuck all. They didn't even try. And, that trilogy failed. Not only the one black character, not only the one Asian character, not only the one Latin character. It failed a lot of people. It failed Luke Skywalker. It failed Han Solo. It failed Princess Leia. It failed Lando Calrissian. It failed R2-D2. But when Disney wants to go out there and be like, look at us, look how progressive we are, and then hires Kathleen Kennedy, a sexist, racist individual, and Rian Johnson, a clueless person whose prejudices come out in his work despite his proclamations to the contrary. Someone needed to say it, and I salute John Boyega for coming out and saying it. Speaking against a mouse, holy shit. Who does that in Hollywood? Who speaks out against a mouse? Mr. Mouse, I'll fuck you over now. South Park is not that far off from the truth. The mouse is evil, and the mouse will go and get you. And I worked for the mouse for years. Believe me, I know how shitty of an organization Disney is. And he spoke out against them. So much respect for that. He also goes into the the deafness and the ignorance of individuals such as press junket stylists who kind of balked at clothing he wanted to wear. Why? Because it was too black. They didn't know what to do with him at all. Not just on screen in the films, but elsewhere in the promotion, in everything. He goes on to say nobody else in the Star Wars cast had people saying they would boycott the movie because of them. I read comments, I should say. I don't know people, but I read comments of people like, there's a woman in leave, fuck this movie, it's stupid. I don't want to see this. Daisy Ridley can go fuck herself. So I know that factually that's not entirely true, that nobody else, but as a black actor, he received a lot more of that hate and a lot more. It's the different scale to which the hatred towards Daisy Ridley as opposed to the hatred towards him. So I'm not begrudging him this comment. And this GQ article is a statement not just against the mouse and Disney, but a statement about society in all realms, from those he does not name, like Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, to the keyboard cowboys out there who talked a lot of shit on social media when the casting was announced. And it is a relevant and topical article for what we've always been going through as a society, but what is on the forefront and finally being understood or as understood as best possible in camps that it hadn't previously been. It takes a lot of balls to speak as candidly as he has, as John Boyega has in this article. Please read it. Please check it out. I only presented a skimmed version of it, but I just wanted to tip my headphones, my figurative cap to the gentleman, to the amazing actor, to this man who is a voice and one that should be listened to, who's brave as fuck, and who is speaking up despite the fact that the mouse who owns half of everything and is trying to buy the other half controls so much in Hollywood, who could very easily, no pun intended, blacklist him for speaking out. But he's speaking out because it's the right thing to do, because this is something that needs to be brought to light. This is something that should not be the virtue signaling of how great an organization is for hiring diversity and then doing nothing, allowing that diverse cast to be marginalized and made into a punchline that's not even funny, that is too much of a callback to how black individuals and people of ethnicity have been treated in film and television in the past. Because it isn't just the fact that it was bad writing, it's the fact that it was a callback to stereotypes and mistreatment throughout the history of Hollywood. That's what Last Jedi started. That's what Last Jedi was. And the mouse let it happen, and Kathleen Kennedy let it happen, and Ryan Johnson let it happen, and they all had a hand in it. And good for Mr. Boyega for calling them out. Without naming certain individuals, call out those in power, the decision makers at Lucasfilm and Disney, for continuing to perpetrate stereotypes and racism that have long been rooted in Hollywood and in storytelling under the guise of progress and virtue signaling at the risk of his own career. And if you can't respect that, just like if you can't feel the power and take a second look at your own life when hearing the pain and the honesty in his voice when he addressed those protesters months ago, I don't know what to tell you. So, I salute you, Mr. Boyega. I salute you, Tom Seaver. I salute you, Chadwick Boseman. And I salute everyone who is battling depression, cancer, dementia, COVID, and all illnesses that affect us and our loved ones. And I salute everyone who is hurting and everyone who's trying to make the world a better place and everyone who just tries to be good to their fellow human being. And I guess I'll get off my soapbox now. Anyway, that's my rant. I'm sure you've tuned out after 2 minutes of it, but anyone who actually stuck to it, I love you. Thank you for that. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, blah, 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 the shit you're not going to do. And I look forward to doing more of these on a more regular basis, despite that which is impacting me, being depression, holding me back. But I need to press through. And I hope you're pressing through whatever is holding you back and whatever is hurting you. And just be good to each other. And go to sleep.